Whoa. Check 1 2 1 2. Yes, yes, you good fam. Big up to everyone's coming through for a weekly check-in every Monday. As you can see, man, I am on set, man, right here, working, building, making things happen, man. This is the exclusive Dark Slope studio. You know what, let me show y'all what we're working on right now before we get into the check-in, just so you can see some vibes. Big up, Lady Villa, what's going on, yo? Working on some VR animation things. This. Super vibes, super vibes. Show y'all Dark Slope. Yeah, man. Peace, man. Yeah, man. Today we're going to be discussing, careers that were birthed through trauma. It's a crazy revelation that came to me. Let me just kind of get out of this space for a second so I can really get in. Boom. Yeah, man, it's like careers that are birthed out of trauma. A lot of, if you're an artist, if you're an empath, if you're a creative, a lot of the things that we do is coming from this place of healing. And I think it's such a very fortunate thing to do, to be able to build in that capacity. So I think it would be kind of cool just to, discuss this, let us know how y'all feeling, man. Make sure y'all check in with us. Let us know you're feeling on the scale from 1 to 10 as we continue to build. I'm going to send some invites as we get this ball going. Wait, where am I going? Kind of lost here. I'm in a new studio right here working on some virtual reality VR stuff, which is pretty cool. Let me know how you are feeling today on this Monday, man, for you good fan virtual check-in as we discuss today's topic of careers that are birthed out of trauma, man. Crazy. Like, what gets you going? What gets you moving? Let's see here. Okay. Find a quiet place, man. Just tap in. Big up to everyone. I'm sending some invites. Trying to find a quiet place. Hey, what's going on?
Hello. How's it
Respect
going?
for respect for tapping in. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
multitasking right now. Multitasking.
Good. That's always
Yeah, man.
good. Good,
It
good.
is. It is. Yeah, it's really exciting. I'm in this VR program, this film virtual reality, augmented reality program, and
Nice.
we're actually creating this like virtual space and doing some like animation, and we have this whole project which I won't share right now. I will discuss that another day. But it's pretty exciting. Just what we're able to create. And I think like the common theme is creating experiences.
True.
Experiences
True.
is I think like the root of like everything that I do, whether it's just like a conversation. The conversations are experiences. We have these
True.
lives, they're experiences. We do workshops in schools, they're experiences. But virtual reality and technology is kind of like the future. It's going to be,
True.
it's here. I'm going to see it. People are going to start seeing it not just in like film and video games, but also in education, also in like meditation,
Yep.
therapy, like you name it.
True.
So it's really interesting. But yeah, but how are you doing, man? When we just checking real quick, while people are tapping in, showing love.
hmm Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm an eight. I'm an eight. Eight is good. Eight is good.
Okay,
Eight is good.
okay. And why are you at 8? Let us know why you're at 8 right now.
Um, I admit I'm still decongested a bit, with the seasons changing and all that, you know. But
Got
as
you.
I said, other than that, I'm still good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hey, that's super blessed, super blessed. Me, I would say like I'm at like a 10.
Nice.
There's just a lot, like I said, a lot of creative energy, a lot of things that are happening, and part of me feels like overwhelmed, but I take this approach of being overwhelmed as recognizing that I'm around a lot of abundance.
True.
I saw this post the other day where it's like being overwhelmed isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like
No.
what it is it's about just knowing how to like manage this abundance,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a
True.
lot of that going on, and I'm just really trying to find that balance. But I embrace it all. I don't reject it.
Nice.
I'm not saying that. Please
don't give me opportunities. Don't put a lot on my plate, you know, because we've all been in places where nothing nagwan, you know, things are not moving. So
True. True.
when things are moving, roll with it, embrace it.
That's true.
Yo, salute Symbolic. What's going on, brother?
Yeah, symbolic. What's up?
Yo, in the house.
He's doing what he
You
does,
know,
what he does best. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Letting people know what's going on. Shout out King Spade in the cut, man. I see the brother there.
out, yo. So I guess we're giving our check-in right now.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
I'm split my brain into and invite heads while saying how I'm doing. I'm like, what you just talked about was really, yeah. I'm like so much happening on so many platforms, and it can be a lot, but it's good. It's great. I mean, it's better than Naguan. So, I mean, that's horrible. You know what I mean?
True.
Lots going on. I would say out of 1 to 10, probably at a 7. So, you know, there's room through this weekly check-in to get up to an 11, you know?
True. 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 True.
True indeed, man. All right, man. Yo, big up to everyone, man. I see King Speed in the house, man. Respect for pulling through. Shout out to everyone tapping in. Let us know how you're feeling on a scale from 1 to 10. You know, for our check-in. You know, we like to keep it interactive, keep the connection going. I see we got Daisy. Shout out Daisy, says you got a 6, man. Hopefully we can get the vibes up to a higher level by the end of the conversation. I see Lady Vivi already jumped in the chat saying 8. Big up, man. See the soul, man. Salute, man. Greetings, SFA family. Yo, see the soul. I don't know if you're available to jump on to a call, man. I would like to hear, it'd be nice to hear your perspective on this idea of, you know, careers that are kind of like birthed out of like a coping mechanism for trauma, you know, something I've been really meditating on is the idea of like, you know, artistry or, you know, like any kind of like activism. A lot of people we do a lot of work like within like the social service sector. And oftentimes it comes from like these places, right? You know, like we may not realize it's like, okay, well, we're doing something positive, but it's also like while we're trying to create new realities, it's also like our way of dealing with certain things, you know? So I'm curious to know other people's perspectives. Do they feel the same way or not? I don't know. It's just something that I've been meditating on. Because I started thinking to myself, like, you know, if I wasn't, you know, trying to find ways to like heal and cope and to process certain things that I've experienced, and then like, what would I be doing? You know what I mean? Like, what Stone from Africa even exists? Like, I don't know, like maybe I'd be fishing or something, or just doing something completely, you know, like, I don't know, like a regular 9 to 5, or I don't know. I really don't know. But it just poses these thoughts. It's like, because I don't know anything else, you know, and then on top of that, this idea of like, you know, careers where I can't separate the, like what I do from like who I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, some people can like go to their work and job and, you know, there's no judgment or anything like that. It's just an observation where people can like go to work, and then when they leave work, like work stays at work. You understand what I'm saying? Like, but for me, it's like, it's a 24-hour, like, you know, experience. It's not something I just like, you know, take my hat off and then, you know, check out. You know, it's a continuous process. So anyways, just things that I'm just like reflecting on. So I'm curious to hear other perspectives. So yeah, that being said, man, I don't know, Symbolic, man, if you want to, you know, tap in, what is your like theories on that? You know, just being like an artist, and, you know, like maybe your artistry and, you know, your documentation, everything you're involved in comes from a place of like, of lack, or maybe certain experiences. And this was your way of like understanding yourself or healing or whatnot. So I don't know if you want to add on.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a really interesting question because it's like what you said. It's at that point it doesn't feel like per se a career, or in some ways, what it does is it builds those transferable skills,
right?
And you end up, let's say, whether it's with communication, like communication skills. It may be, let's say, rapping. Yeah, like I was always inspired by message music, you know, like having a reason for doing the creative work. And so yeah, it really spawned skills. And in fact, well, I mean, Umbadaima, the company that I work with right now, it's about using technology, being blockchain, NFTs, and Web3, in order to provide opportunities of equity, or to, the fact that we're wealthy. We're wealthy when it comes to intellectual property. We've as African descendants, we've always, given. So now, I don't know. It just that to think of careers that come out of trauma, I just look in a broader way. Like, our people have obviously gone through trauma, and not the type of trauma where you're like, oh, I went through this thing and then, we kind of made it right. It hasn't been made right. So I think we pull from that and create. So creatively, that's the one big one that comes to mind.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. Yo, we have a special guest with us, man. Seed of the Soul. Thank you for tapping in. Appreciate that. I just sent the invites, and sometimes you never know where it's going to go, but I appreciate you coming in and added on. Why don't you check in with us real quick, and then maybe get your perspective on this idea of like careers that are birthed like out of like trauma as a coping mechanism and whatnot. So,
yeah. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I would say I'm about a 10. Today, because I've actually I have a holistic service. Like, I provide a lot of holistic service, and so recently I've been really working on this notion and this idea about our nervous system and how really important that is to centralizing how we feel, but also just that becomes the scaffolding for your entire health in so many ways, and that I before didn't know. So I have a system where I actually do a vagus nervous system reset every night before I go to bed. So I generally have a really good sleep and I wake up well. So I'm at a 10 because I feel really good. So this notion or this idea of birthing your career or birthing something that we do in relation to an experience that maybe we had. We could call it a crisis, a wound, or a trauma response to something. I'll just briefly share my own sort of personal story.
yeah, please.
So I'm a birth doula, and I became a birth doula in 2002, primarily because I wanted to have advocacy for women going through birth, and not necessarily in a natural form, but of course, but more so in more of in what was natural and innate to women, right? Because I would say 19 years prior to that, I had my daughter. So my daughter's now 33 years old, and when I had my daughter, I was 19, and I had quite a traumatic kind of birth experience with my daughter. It was very medicalized in terms of like the labor and delivery. I had an amazing 9 months of birth, but then when it came to labor and delivery, as soon as I got into the hospital, it went sideways. It just became this traumatic experience, so that when I delivered my daughter, I had a vaginal birth, and I didn't have a midwife. I didn't have like a birth doula, and I didn't have advocacy for myself. It was just myself and my partner. And like I said, I was quite young. This was my first child. I didn't have a lot of information around, labor and delivery, what all of this looked like. It was just very much naivety. And I just thought, oh, the medical system, of course, you're going into a hospital, giving birth, they're gonna take care of you. Well, that wasn't my situation. I had a 16-hour labor after giving birth to my daughter. Shortly after she was delivered, the way that my GP actually handled my daughter upon delivering her, I knew something innately was wrong. I was still laying on the bed. They took her away, and she was just like, she didn't have the regular sort of cry or disposition. And so my GP came over to me and she said, we're going to take her, we're going to move her into the ICU unit or neonatal unit because there's that sort of like obstruction or something. And I was just like, what? Like What do you mean? I was just 16 hours of laboring, going through all of this, and you're telling me that there's something that's gone wrong. Anyhow, I got to find out that my daughter had something called pulmonary hypertension, which I believe was caused because I had ordered an epidural when I started to have, like, I would say it was when I was phasing into the third stage of labor. And because there was a lack of not having enough anesthesiologists in the hospital at that time, I waited. And so that by the time the anesthesiologist was ready, I was already at the place of ready to be pushing. And that's kind of when they gave me my epidural. And so it was a late stage epidural intervention that was given at that point, which led to these other medicalized sort of situations that happened for my daughter. So my daughter was born, she had pulmonary hypertension. They had to take her into emerge and do all of these things, stabilize her, get in a helicopter, had to fly her out into, she was born in Mississauga, to Sick Children's Hospital. She was there for like 7 days. She wasn't breathing properly. All this other stuff was going on. But at this time, I had my grandmother who was still alive, who was always been a very much a medicine woman, who was very psychically oriented and just very wise. And so as soon as I realized what was happening with my daughter, I called home and my mom answered the phone and my mom was like, "Oh, did you have the baby?" And I'm like, "Just put Granny on the phone." So my grandmother came on the phone and I was like bawling. I'm like, "I think she's gonna pass. I don't," because they, at this point, they had a priest come into my room to talk to me with the potential of, if she doesn't make it, what are the arrangements? All this stuff was happening literally 2 hours after I'd given birth. So I was like, this is like so much trauma. So anyways, after all that happened, I called my grandmother, and my grandmother reassured me that, my grandmother was like, "I see that there's something going on with," this is what she said. She said, "There's something with her oxygen levels that aren't right," which was accurate. My grandmother didn't know that. And she said, "She's going to be fine." She said, "I just need you to like really be in trust that that your daughter is going to make it through." She goes, "It's going to take a couple of days to sort of get her back, like, with the proper levels of oxygen, but she's going to be fine." And so literally that happened. Like, my daughter was in sick children for 7 days. Each day I would call my grandmother. My grandmother would say, "This is what's going to happen. The tubing that they have in her nose," she goes, "something in her nose is going to be taken away." I called Sick Children's Hospital. They said, "Oh, today we took the tubes out of your daughter's nose. She's doing better." So subsequently, each day she became healthier and better. 7 days later, we took her out and we were able to bring her home. And she had checkups to go to Sick Children's Hospital for 2 years, every 6 months. To this day, they don't know what the cause is. They just said, they kept saying she's a miracle baby. Well, I mean, I personally know that now, with the education that I have and actually being in the role of a birth doula, with that experience is what led me into doulaship, actually, because I was like, no, women need to be supported. Women need to understand that their bodies are natural and can birth babies. This is why you become pregnant in the first place, because the wisdom and the intelligence of creation doesn't make duds. It doesn't make, false systems, as we're being told many times. So I wanted to be able to assist women in advocacy around, not just when you are pregnant, but even before you become pregnant. There's a lot of primary important things that we need to know that the medical profession absolutely obfuscates. They don't tell you for good reasons. They're poisoning us. They're killing us in various ways. There's so much inversions of truths. Like, they're always telling women you're anemic and you need iron. No, you don't. You need copper. Copper spins all minerals. Like, you don't need iron. Iron is displaced in your tissues and it's not in the plasma. It's not in the blood. And they're always looking for it in places that it's not. And so, it's just such a diabolical mafia system in the medical complex. So with that experience, I was like, no, 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 no. I have to be able to be out in the world, and I have to be able to share this. I have to be able to tell women that, you know, not just women, but families, like, you know, support women in the process of labor and delivery, but also educate families around the importance of having, you know, spiritual health, right? Like that for me, what saved me that day was, or that week, was my grandmother. Like anchoring on my grandmother's wisdom and words, and trusting that she could see like what I couldn't see, because I was so stuck in my trauma and my hurt and my fear in that moment. But to have someone that could, if you want to call it your cheerleader, or someone that could represent you, you know, as you're going through that moment. And I think that's what birth doulaship and my passion around childbirth and health and women's fertility and women's health and just health in general. So yeah.
That's beautiful. No, thank you for sharing that incredible, inspirational story of just filled with purpose and passion and advocacy. I don't know, like symbolic, man, if you want to jump in the chats, I see some comments there. People are adding on.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. But I do want to say that that is an amazing story, and shows how important it is for us to like be present, because as Black people, as women, not being present, you have people who just have that ego saying this is what it is, and when something goes wrong, they don't want to say it's because of them doing what they do. They're never going to do that. But when we're there, it's like you in going and specializing in that area. So I want to just say thank you for sharing that again.
And I just want to add on real quick before we get into the chats, is that like, you know, experience brings like this level of like awareness, you know, because if you didn't go through that, you wouldn't have this awareness. And now you have this like, no, this can't happen to anybody else. I'm going to make sure it doesn't.
Correct.
Right. So I just want to add to that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And so then like literally, so I have two daughters, one that's 33 and one that's 27 now. And my youngest got pregnant when she was 16. So when I was like, you know, in my 40s, early 40s, and she was having her baby, she was like, well, I'm not going through your experience, Mom. Like, I'm not doing a hospital birth. I'm going to do it at home. And so we had a home birth where I was the doula for my grandson. And, you know, and it was beautiful. Like, it was, you know, almost 24 hours of like natural labor done so differently than my experience. And had I not had that experience, I think I may have been more apt to maybe say, well, let's do the hospital thing. And there's nothing wrong if someone chooses that, or that's their process that they have to go through, because not everyone can have a home birth. Majority of people can. Even if you've had a cesarean before, like a VBAC, and they tell you it can't. There's so many things. But, you know, what I'm saying is that ultimately, I think that we can look back in history and we can see that women were birthing children without any sort of interventions, anyone else. They were oftentimes doing it by themselves, or they were doing it with other women. And it's a very natural process. Like, that's what I say to women. And I think it's shifting the perspective, shifting that narrative, and debunking a lot of the medicalized sort of narrative that's out there that can really, you know, traumatize you into thinking that you only have one option. And so, yeah, so that really did spawn my passion for the education around fertility, birth, and childbirthing. So,
yeah, fantastic.
So thank you guys for always, you know, inspiring such great topics and communication and conversation pieces. It's great that you're out here doing that. I think we need to have more of this. Like, you know, like really open dialogue, truthful, transparent dialogue.
That's it.
Yeah, I applaud you for the work that you're doing, because you need to open up these kinds of spaces. I mean, that's the only way that we're going to become more informed, more educated,
you said it.
More intelligent about the things that we don't know.
You said it, man. That's exactly what it's all about. You know, we share our experiences, and that's how we grow and we get more, you know, in tuned and you know, increase our level of awareness. So for those who are just still tapping in right now, like, we're discussing how, certain careers are like birthed out of like a trauma, like coping mechanism, so a lot of people who are involved in any kind of like service sector, or if you're an artist or creative, and I'm sure there's other careers that are birthed out of like an experience, so typically a negative one, and then we kind of like used our magic, our alchemy to like shift that and then to create something to ensure that others do not experience the same thing. So it's not just healing for ourselves and advocacy, but it's also envisioning like a new reality, a new existence where those experiences don't even exist. So just wanted to put out there, if anybody has similar experiences, please add that in the chat. But Symbolic, I'll let you take it away.
Absolutely. We're going back, way, way back, because we want to make sure that everyone has a voice here. Good fam. I see King Spade. King Spade says, SFA, peace and love, family with mad birthday hats. Seed of the soul is right here, but still in the chat as well, giving peace and sunshine. King Spade says, peace and love to the panel. Give a dap. King Spade is 100 out of 10 with Mad Fire. I see Jerry Icy, big up. Rudimental, that's some classic foundational right here in the house with the crowns and the fire and the gems. Big ups and love. And Rudimental says love and respect back at you. It's reciprocal, fam. Seed of the soul, you did jump up, but Ken is in the chat. Big up on Nancy Creation. King Spade gives a shout out to Rudimental. Peace to the fams. Going down the line, I see Forever Blessed giving the wave. Memoirs of Adesha says hi, mom, and hi to friends. Enough respect to the family. It's a family movement. Rudimental, giving shouts back to King Spade. Word up. And so inspired by this conversation, I see King Spade says, I started my law firm business because of trauma. My business saved my life. Word up. Anansi 5.0 says, creating is healing. I resonate with Brother Symbolic. Word. We do magic when we just put our minds to whatever it is that we do. Man, I hit one button and then this thing just jumps right to the bottom. So let me scroll for a bit. There's a lot of
enough love to everyone tapping in to love it.
Yeah, enough love indeed. I just gotta go all the way. It hit it wrong and it just like goes right back to the bottom. So I'm gonna try and see if as far as I can get without. Okay,
well, I mean, I can tap on. I see Couture saying, love this topic. Saying hello, fam, and glad, big black heart. Shout out to Mom Crosby with the hand up in the air, yellow heart. See Najma, salute, man. That's SFA fam right there, man, saying hello. I see Mama Crosby saying black doulas are needed. So beautiful to assist our people. True indeed. I see Najma tapping back in saying respect to you so much, Queen. I had a similar situation. I was young and had no voice and would love to know how you changed a tragedy into an inspiration. Then I think that's exactly what she did. She became a doula. Now she's ensuring that people do not have to go through that. Empowering them, self-advocacy, all that good stuff. So it's amazing how like sometimes we go through these these situations that are just like tragic in a way, but then we're able to use that and create something positive. So that's beautiful. I see Frosty Rob, and shout out Dre saying big up fam. King Space saying the hospitals were made to destroy the people under hospice, which means to kill the guest. Oh gosh. I mean, hey, it's really, really interesting. Let's see what else we have here. Since my children were born at home too, shout out my midwifery. I see King Space says, it's all part of the medical genocide. Hey man, like, sometimes truth is much stranger than fiction, yo. So I encourage everybody to do their research and get
Yeah.
in tuned.
Yeah.
I see Najma saying like, yo, wow, that's amazing. That makes it so much more powerful. And says, love to see kings and queens doing their thing. True indeed. And I see Nadia High Music saying greetings, respect for passing through, much love. I think we're all caught up, man. So yeah, like I said, for those who are just tapping in, we're discussing like how oftentimes careers that we're often in, especially in our community, is dealing with like trauma and coping with trauma, and symbolic, like you mentioned, a lot oftentimes like it's not resolved. Like this is like legacy, it's intergenerational. There's so much things that we've all experienced collectively, individually, collectively, and as a community, and we're all trying to like process, and it's still going, but we've been able to find a way to like survive and thrive like throughout the whole process. So it's definitely something to consider. If anybody has any similar experiences, like the field that you're in, your career, how did you get into that? Is it out of a response of an experience, and then you're like, you know what, I'm gonna find a way? So please let us know. But yo, Symbolic, man, what are you saying? Like, what's some of your experiences, brother?
Well, one thing I just want to jump back and say, we got Nigeria in the chat with the tune. We got Ghana in the chat. We got USA. We got. I wanted to give a few, just some big ups. The fact that we're connecting like this, and when we based on what we go through, we focus on whatever side it is. Like with me, it's poetry. I can't just write and not be trying to convey something that has to do with my experience and how I aspire for or to balance in some way or for a better world. So yeah, that's just one thing that comes to mind, and I'm really inspired that we are doing this regularly with supportive, safe spaces, and we're connecting across the planet. So that's the thing that comes to mind, and I wanted to just go back. It's funny, we couldn't have planned this. Well, we didn't plan this, let's say, but we're talking about the birth and yourself as a doula. I had a midwife, and it's true that they scare the hell out of us into going to basically to them, into buying in. Now, yeah. I was going to say, just because I am that guy that will say, yes, there was a higher death rate when we were not, before. However, it doesn't, like you also did clarify, not all situations you can do at home if there's some kind of complication. So my daughter was born at home. My son, there was a complication. We had to go to the hospital. And so, I think that's the thing. But when we have an advocate like yourself, then, and like we did, and just I'd say, thankfully, a Black midwife, I just have more trust that you know where I'm coming from, as opposed to, I don't know if anyone has gone to the hospital and had a doctor kind of talk down to you or say, well, why are you here? Mm-hmm. I've gone and I've had a nurse, being my mother, say, oh, well, if you're having a pain on your left side, go to the hospital. Now, when we are in those places, so I guess I'm just following the thread. When we, do what you did, when we have the people in those spaces, then at least we know that we possibly can have someone who is going to advocate or understand where we're coming from. So this is such a great conversation, Logik. Thank you for bringing it up, because, following it through, it's like, imagine, if we had our people saying, oh, I went through this. Now I want to make sure no one else has to go through this. And then we have someone supportive helping us and talking us through situations. So yeah, that's what comes to mind for me. I love the conversation.
Yeah. Can I just add in addition to completely agree with you, Brother Symbolic. I think how I'd like to maybe preface this is that maybe we can entertain this. Like, this is just for a conjecture or for postulation. It doesn't mean that you have to do anything with it. But let's look at it this way. Like, birthing, like coming into the world, is an important thing, we would say, because each of us, that's our portal into this reality, right? And how we come into this reality, how we're treated, first of all, how the mothers, the women that are giving birth to because the mothers are the creation of all beings, right? Like, so how that woman is treated, the environment, the circumstances by way she's giving birth will determine so many things about worldview, the world in general, and each individual. Like, I'm sorry, like if you come through with a traumatic experience, understand that you're being set up for traumatic life experiences going forward if you don't take an active awareness perspective to that experience and change the course of that trajectory. That's bar none. That's been proven time and time again in my experience as a doula. So secondly, though, with this notion of creating, birthing careers out of our experiences, well, I think it's akin similarly to how the human system works, right? So if there's an imbalance or there is a deficiency that's happening within the system, or an illness in any of the organ systems that's happening in the body, does it not seek to find, how does it find healing? It shows up as symptomology, which we can say are the traumas or the, you know, the diseases that we are now coming back, because the system always wants to come into homeostasis, right? So if we can look at the body in terms of, in the aggregate, like people, so if I am sick and my body is looking to come into homeostasis, when I'm out in society and I'm looking to careers, or I'm building or birthing careers from a deficit or a need of some kind or trauma, it's exactly the same thing that's happening in the aggregate, right? The aggregate is it's externalization of the internal organs, right? Like, that's what it is. That's why they call organizations, right? Like organizations, correct? So when we're seeing outside externally, like things that are not either representing, there's no representation of who we look like, people like us, well, it's causing a disease. These are symptoms. So it's telling us, well, how are we going to fix that? So then I can be like a nucleus cell, like a red blood cell, for example, going to build into the aggregate, which is the whole body, right? Like outside of us is the whole body. And we can see ourselves as whatever. We can see ourselves as a liver cell, organ cell, lung cell, but you're trying to facilitate homeostasis is what you're trying to do. Bringing things back into balance, into its wholeness, right? For health, for health. That's really what's happening. So when we're seeing that on the external, we have to go in and go, well, where in the internal am I maybe not in homeostasis? What components, what physiology that may be in my system that's off course, right? It could be at an energetic level. Generally it is. It's usually at a mitochondrial level. And I say that because 90% of your mitochondria comes from your mother's DNA, not your father's. So when things are not working well, you might want to shift into, well, what's my relationship with my maternal? Mm-hmm. Literally your maternal mother, but your feminine side, you know, those principles. What is it that I'm not? So these are just little things to come in to like kind of show us, well, what are we in discord of? What is in disease? Like, symptoms are always just notifications. They're just like alerts. Hey, take a look at this. Something's going on. I want you to check in. So I just wanted to just sort of like put that down as a postulation.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
You guys could pick it up and go wherever you want with that.
Man, you dropped so many jewels. Like, I don't even know where to begin though. But But just like when you're talking about this like maternal connection, and there's like a lot of cultures that say that and understand that, you know, like where they look towards like the maternal side, and it makes sense, you know, that's the mother, that's the portal which we all come from into existence. So it makes sense, even though like patriarchy has painted a whole other picture, which we understand why, because you know, it's about power and colonization and whatnot, not this like holistic way of beings, you know. So it's really important to get back, and that's the whole like Sankofa vibe. Everything that we talk about is going back to the origin, you know, to collect what we may have forgotten, you know. So everything you're saying is right on line.
And that takes you right, not to cut you, brother, but it takes you right back to your birth story. It does. It always, it just goes right back to where I started, right? Like if you understand your birth story and you understand your mother's and even your grandmother's, like that 3 layers will tell you so much about your health. It will tell you about your orientation to life. It will tell you, like, it will project your children's children. And there's just so much more. And this is why the birth and the birthing has become so medicalized, and they've traumatized. They want to purposefully traumatize women at birth, because when you then leave that experience, it says a lot about the trajectory of your life.
You know, it's so interesting because like you mentioned about like, you know, giving birth at 19. Like my mom had me when she was 19 as well, and you know, she always tells me that she was you know, in labor for like, I think like 20 something hours and whatnot, you know, in the hospital, and it was not a pleasant experience, you know. Like I've been reminded of that like over the years, but now you're giving me some new tools for me to like even go back to my mom and really kind of like go back, because you're right, this is part of my story as well. And now like I'm thinking about having conversations with my grandmother and seeing what those like, you know, intersections are, and figuring that out, you know, to get a deeper understanding. So that's really powerful. I never really considered that or thought of that, you know, and that just gives us so much like purpose, you know. The more awareness that we have, like the more we want to share with others, and that's part of like our collective healing trauma, because a lot of things we speak about is like the intergenerational like trauma, but we also, you know, we also highlight about like the intergenerational gifts too. There's gifts that's passed down. So while we can think about like the negative stuff, there's also like positive things, and there might be like things that we're doing right now that like our great grandparents were doing that we don't even know. It's just part of our DNA that it's just not even like a surprise, right? So, but nevertheless, it's really about that awareness and connection, and just seeing like the pathways between all of these different intersections. So yeah, definitely beautiful stuff, and thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Wow.
Yeah. Anybody else have any feedback and any thoughts, man? Anything that's going on? I'm just looking at.
Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. I just saw like
go.
Okay, well, there's a comment in the chat, but Anansi, big up the sister there. 5.0. Saying, have you all felt supported by the black community in general in the paths that you've chosen? I've had some black folks mock my views around advocating for midwifery, and it was very disheartening. So maybe I don't know if Sister, if you want to build on that, like, you know, like especially in the context of being like, you know, a black doula and all that, like, was there always like support? Was there challenges? Did people not understand it and just try to kind of shut you off of your dreams and purposes and ambitions?
I'm not clear on what the question is. Can you just repeat that again, please?
My mask. So saying, have you? So I guess this is a general question for us all. Have you all felt supported by the black community in general in the paths that you've chosen? So I think like just that, you know, because
no, not I can 100% say I have not. It's my experience, and that's all I can speak from, right? No, I have not. I mean, my first daughter's birthing story that I shared with you, after I delivered, because I was 19, so when I was leaving the hospital, my nurse was a black nurse that took care of me, and both when I was in labor and when I was actually like being discharged. And when I was in labor and I was actually like asking for the epidural and crying and behaving like I'm losing my mind because of the pain, the way that she soothed me was to tell me that she's like, well, you put yourself in this situation. Why are you, like, you're making a whole bunch of noise. There's other women in the other, like in the other room, like you need to be quiet. That was her that was her soothing and taking care of me. That's what the one, that was a Black nurse. And when I was leaving the hospital, because my daughter was known to be the baby that was flown out to sick children, I was sick and all that. I mean, the nurses were quite really, for the most part, most of the hospital administration was very good. But when I was leaving, one of the nurses said, well, I hope I don't see you hanging out at square one with your baby.
Wow.
I was like, my partner was going to punch her in the face. I was like, no, let's just go. I mean, the lady, she didn't know me from Adam. I mean, why would you make an assumption? I guess, because I was 19 and I was giving birth. I just gave birth to a child. And I'm a Black girl, so obviously I'm going to be hanging out with my baby at square one. So, I mean, that was my sort of introduction into the whole birthing experience and being a mom for the first time and all of that. But yeah, I would say that I haven't had the kind of support in our community that I would have liked to. Throughout the years, it's gotten better, of course, and I, gracefully, and I'm really thankful for that. But I have had my challenges, right? Like, and there's not a lot of Black doulas. When I started, I will tell you that I was taught by a school of white women. I had to do all of my primary sort of like volunteer work and all that in communities that weren't ours, right? And when people were finding me, they're like, oh, there's a Black doula? Because like I said, I started in 2002, right? Like, that's almost like 20 years ago. Yeah. So now I think there's more that I'm hearing of more, but it's a sparse industry. So
yeah, like, I mean, when I think about like the work that I've been doing, in terms of like supports and whatnot, like, I think it's really like conditional supports. I've noticed, like, for example, like being an artist and then getting like, recognized, getting like articles written about me. I remember when I first started, I had an article in the Globe and Mail, and, my mom and grandparents were really happy about that because that's something that they can share with other people and whatnot. But when I like decided to like leave high school and pursue my artist career, it was like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, they didn't really understand it, but it was something that was important to me. But most importantly, it was about like my healing process. I mean, at the time I didn't know that, but I just knew that it was something that I had to do. And it was like a very like lonely route to walk, but I did it, and luckily I was able to create something out of it. But then when people started seeing that, oh, this is something, you're actually making now they want to jump on the bandwagon in a way and be like, yeah, I was always supportive. It's like, no, like, it was actually kind of devastating in a way. Like, imagine if I believed what people told me and I just stopped. You know what I mean? Like, where would I be? Like, everything I'm doing wouldn't even exist right now. So I think it's just one of those like reminders that, like, regardless if it's like the Black community or family or anybody rather, it's like, if you know something in your heart and that's that burning fire, you know what I mean? Like, not to get biblical, man, but they call it that burning bush. You know what I mean? Like Moses at the mountaintop, and like when you get this download and people look at you like you're crazy, but like when it's burning, it's like I can't turn it off. Like, that's how you know. Right. And the universe will create a path for you. You know what I mean? So just like follow that and keep it moving. But yes, go ahead, Sabali.
I'd love to hear from Vividly.
I agree.
Yeah.
How you doing? What are you thinking about all this?
I am taking this all in as well too, because this is very good. It's all about the foundation, learning about this, the trauma, because trauma's real, really. We go through it a lot. We're part of a system that doesn't like us, and we have to find a way to push past it. But it's tough because it's structural, like even in healthcare. Unfortunately, we see that a lot because that's what it was made for. We're supposed to be studied, just like, First Nations. They study us to help white people. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, they don't give a shit about us, but we have to realize that and find a way to just keep going. It is what it is,
Yeah.
Strengthening our community is the key. Many of us follow the system. That's why white supremacy is big, because the same people that look like us love white supremacy. You know what I mean? And that's not good either, but it's always been like this. So we just have to find a way to push past it. And the same ones that look like us will try to stop us.
Yeah,
You
like
know?
that inferiority superiority complex is a very interesting concept. It's so deep, and like you said, like like white supremacy, it's like this like virus that can like jump on any kind of avatar. You know what I mean? So even if it's people look like us, like they can still like act out like certain some ideologies, right? So it's not subjected to just like a particular race, but it's an ideology. It's a mindset,
Exactly.
right? So
Yeah.
we're
100. 100. 100.
love. Yes, go ahead, Molly.
100.
So I'm going to get into the chat, but first, I just want to say, exactly what this topic, going through trauma, going through life, seeing something, and then deciding I'm going to focus on that. It's right on point, because I mean, in some cases, I may be into this, but I'm not equipped. But as we all do what our passions are, then we connect. It's like, oh, now if someone is looking for a doula after this point right now, I'm gonna say, okay, I had, conversation, connection. I know I can say check that person out, and so yeah, that's the main thing that comes to mind. There is whatever it is, someone may say, oh, I'm interested in justice. I'm gonna be a police officer or even a lawyer. And they may still not have some of the cultural understanding, let's say, or spiritual understanding. But when they may connect with other people and say, oh, I never thought about this. I never thought about that Black people, Africans, had a justice system of some kind because they were taught within this system. So I just want to just say that it's I think we should be kind of patient with ourselves and gentle, and know that, like it is step by step, but we need to do just what Logik proposed with this conversation, and turn what could be trauma into, what we're doing as we move forward. This discussion is partially that, it's a discussion that started years ago through hip hop and through us doing this and that, and so it's amazing to be here right now. So I'm just gonna jump in these chats. I'm gonna go a little bit. Brother Symbolic, when you were describing that, I was thinking of the mycelium effect. Oh.
Can you break that down?
Right? Like when
you're the forest? Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly. So with forests, with trees, like trees in Canada can actually be speaking to trees in South America because of their roots, right? Like they connect, right? Like, so roots, like time and space and distance and place, like we've got to like stop working with that and work with the true like natural laws. Like, so that's what I was thinking. And that's a truth. Like that's a truism. Like you can go and check it out.
Yep.
Right? Like the pine tree in Canada can actually be connected to the, the vines in South Africa, in South America or Africa or wherever, right?
Yo,
that they are true ancestors. That's true ancestral lineage, right? So
I say this often,
yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like that's like the original Wi-Fi. You know what I mean? This like this connection that's just like, you just like put something in my head that I'm gonna have to like sit with and meditate on, because that's crazy. But yes, thank you for that.
That's exactly what they are. That's why they want to cut them down when they have all this 5G stuff, right? Because that's exactly what they're doing for us, right? They're not just taking up our carbon dioxide, right? But they're actually communicating, right? They're communicating. They're life forms, right? Like trees are active. Like anytime you want to heal and you want to do anything, people are like, well, I know back home, my grandma would go, send my mom, pick a bark, pick a sprig or something, boil the herb and drink it, right? Like you're drinking the essence and the intelligence, right? That means you're communicating with that tree life and that family, that species of that tree, right? So it's the mycelium effect that you're speaking about that's happening, right? So.
And by the way, people who are can see a tree from a hospital room when they're recovering, heal faster.
Do better.
They do better.
They do better.
They do better.
They
yeah.
do better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what you're talking,
It's a real thing.
real thing.
This agenda that's happening right now, like it's so multiplex, it's so complex and so dimensional. If people are just looking at it linearly, you're gonna.
Got the tree, man. I'm gonna keep them close, man. I'm gonna keep them close, yo.
Yeah. Keep it close, man. Keep the fam close. I'm sorry, like keep the fam close. Yeah, it's so complex. It's so Human existence isn't easy, right? So if you're saying today you're at a 5, you're doing pretty. You're championing the cause. You're championing the cause because it's not an easy task. It's not an easy task. Anyhow, sorry, go ahead.
This is rich.
I'm going to get into this chat. I did want to just quickly plug in when we find these things, like discover these things, anything that humans do that proves that it is in existence. So Wi-Fi, Logik mentioned Wi-Fi. That means telepathy or whatever you want to call it. I'm just saying. Okay. So yeah, I see Nadia. Nadia, big ups to you with the beautiful music, saying greetings. Freedom for Jay Burton. Salute to my fam. Salute to you. Freedom for Jay Burton says, I miss this powerful platform. Word up. We are here every Monday at 11 o'clock, checking in with the fams. 100s from Najma. Yo, big up to AI Design in the place with the hands up. Anansi Creation says, have you all felt, oh no, this is the one that you read, right? Have you all felt supported by the Black community? Right. What was it? I thought I was going to say something about that one. I think it goes along with what I was saying before, that we can be at different places, and the quote old school, so I call it middle school mentality, was chasing and believing in white supremacy. So, I found, like, for example, now they say marijuana is legal, and now I talk casually with my parents about marijuana who are in the medical area, right? And so, depending on exposure and so forth, I think it can really change, and we can, end up, I think we can get to a place where we do have respect. I mean, sometimes people are just not right. Like the person who said, are you going to be at the mall? Like, that's just like, what? But,
yeah.
Nadia High Music says, when you was giving birth, to my firstborn. So I think it's when I was giving birth to my first. I used a service called Diversity Midwives. I think that's the one that we use.
It's a midwifery here in Scarborough.
Yeah. That's my children were born with their support as well. So Nadia High says, ask for a Black midwife. They, in brackets, the Black midwives, said it didn't matter. I mean, I can understand how someone could, especially when do you have your kids? Was it during Obama? Because during Obama we were post-racial all of a sudden. Just saying. So Nadia High Music said the Black midwives assigned me with a white midwife. I was told I was being racist. Well, we're here to tell you you're not being racist because you want to connect with your family around something that's so sacred and so personal, and that you're what's the word I'm looking for? You're exposed, not exposing yourself, but it's such an intimate thing. Like, they're right.
I just want to add to that, right?
It's private, it's intimate, it's intimate.
That's it. Like I hear what they're trying to say, and sometimes people, when they're in certain professions and spaces of privilege, they want to not go there. But this is, a matter of of preference, cultural relevancy, and ultimately feeling safe. You know what I mean? Like I'm pretty sure that there may be like male doulas and whatnot. You know what I mean? And some people may just feel more comfortable with the female. Like that's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Yeah. The other, and I know diversity
okay.
personally. Those the midwife there, like that started diversity. Her name is Valerie. Lovely midwife, like amazing. She was the midwife for my grandson. I know her personally. And I will say that they do try to endeavor to, at least, okay, when I was working with them, I know that they were trying to endeavor to give people their request, but because of, there's so much has shifted, right? Like there's a lot of people now wanting midwifery and not enough midwives or midwives of color. So it becomes a challenge in terms of logistics also, right? Like, so if someone's having few Black women are having births and requesting Black midwives, and their birth dates or their due dates are around the same time, they only have so many Black midwives. I'm speaking about diversity, right? And she has tried to select some diverse midwives, like Asians and East Indians, and but I understand so if you're finding a challenge with that, then you have to go to other unfortunate, like midwife offices to see if you can have your request had. And I would say to women, as soon as you find out that you're pregnant, please try to connect with a midwifery office so that you can get preference, like of your choice of midwives, to sort of alleviate some of that sort of logistic stuff that can occur. That's not necessarily that they're trying to be racist or they're not trying to give you your request, but if there's not enough Black midwives, what are they going to do? They're going to have to offload you onto somebody else, right? So we have to sort of keep things in context too and in mind. And I understand the relevancy. Like when my daughter, she would not have anybody else. She wanted to have Valerie. She wanted to have a Black. So I understand that. But we also have to take some other things into consideration. Just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah.
We had Valerie help us as well, or move with us as well.
Okay.
And the thing that we made the same request, and it was like hopefully, but it also depends on when the birth is. But
exactly.
Not up front though. We didn't have that scenario quite like what Nadia was describing.
Yes.
We are in overtime right now. I just got to say, so we're going to wrap up soon. Cedar, so I'm like, hopefully we'll make this regular connect to jump in. Every now and then we need wisdom and experience. But I'm going to just keep going through these the chat here. Nwe, is it Nwe or NWE? Says peace and love. My brothers and sisters, word up. Man, we got enough people swinging through. We have Najma says they don't think, they don't think, sorry, my eyes are bugging out. They don't think because they went to school, they could tell you about the pain you're feeling and saying you can handle it. All right. I'm not saying, and we go, and on we go, sis, vividly. I love that you don't let this reality crush you. Word up. Color in the place. Color Barber Shop. Big up. Anyone need to cut? Check them out. Yo, Kemya, friend of the show, is in the house. Salute. Knowledge says mushrooms.
Yeah, mushrooms. Yeah, just the way how they communicate.
Mycelial, the Mycelial network. Mm-hmm. And it's a hot topic, by the way. Like there's like funding for looking into this, and it's a hot topic.
We'll get into that, man. We'll get into that, man.
Yeah. Daisy says, truth is in the forest. Word. Chef Gula says, is it possible to be grateful for haters? God teaches us to forgive. Is it possible to look at your opposition graciously for challenging you to succeed to your best, challenging to blaze a trail? I think that's a really, really good point.
Yeah.
Now,
I do too.
Yeah, but I think it's a great point for the person being hated on, but not to give big ups to the hater. You know what I mean? I
No,
don't.
like
I
what
draw.
it is it's a case of like looking at like the message and not like the messenger, right? Like we're just like vehicles or channels for an experience. So it's more so like looking at it from like that like standpoint. It's like, okay, this situation entered my life for a reason to bring a certain level of awareness and growth and whatnot. So yeah, like for sure, like that's like a higher like level, higher consciousness understanding, and that moves out of like the victim like mindset, you know, and you know like
Right.
it's to each his own, you know. I'm not here to say yay or nay or whatever, but it is a definite like higher vibration perspective of like where like we're using alchemy to turn like a negative into a positive. So yeah, true indeed.
That. Kemya says not many black midwives at all. Word.
Mhm.
Nadia High says that was in 2005. They had a black midwife, a couple actually. They hated that I asked and had a preference. That's unfortunate. I'm sorry that you had that experience. But there you go. I see Grove says peace and love from Ghana. Yo, Ghana, we love you. Continue to spread the good word, our family. Yeah, and that's it. We got through a great conversation. We got through our chat. Yo, I'm at 10. I'm at 11 now.
Nice.
We're up.
Nice.
Yo, I want to big up everyone for
Nice.
passing through and dropping the
Nice.
knowledge. Hopefully everyone in the chat got something meaningful out of this. Much love, man. See Brother Kimmy and the dropping the last comment saying on my wife and I delivered our last three because of the lack of black midwives. Yeah. You know, that's what it is, man. So big up to everyone, man, you know, and anyone who's you know on that path of like, you know, creating our career out of passion and purpose, man. It's very much needed, and we got to share your story. You know what I mean? Everything that we go through, we got to share it because it inspires others and whatnot. So let's just continue to do what we're doing. Me right now, as you can see, I'm kind of multitasking. I'm at this VR like studio, man. What's it called? Dark Slope, man. I don't know if you can see. They got some amazing stuff. Yeah. Yo, you already know what it is, symbolic. You know what I'm saying? We're doing the program out here, getting tuned in. But yo, I'm gonna tap back into like this session here, and yo, I feel charged up. I'm at a 10 right now. So thank you everyone for coming through.
10,
Big up to everyone.
Thank
Much
you.
love.
Have a good day,
You too,
everyone.
man. Every Monday,
Live
man.
by
You good, fam.
intention.
Take care.
Let's go. All right, y'all.
Bye.
Peace, y'all. We out.